Morning, everyone. How is everybody doing? Got a couple people coming in. We're going to give everybody a second to get in here. So if you have any questions and you're in the room, I am open to answer any questions, clarifications, anything you might have. We got some people rolling in here, so we'll give it just a second. It's a busy Friday for me too. I'm like multitasking, got a buyer, got to get somebody to go out and show them a house, all kinds of fun stuff. So business happens all the time, just like it does in your world. You can have little tornadoes. And I've been running since about 5 o'clock this morning, making sure that today was great, getting through the information. Oh, we still check and see here who we've got coming in. All right, we got people starting to roll in. We're going to give it just a few more seconds, guys. Anybody have any questions you want to throw at me? Any clarification? I think anything that you're doing that you are working on, and maybe just something is in your way, seems like it's blocking, it's not running as smooth as I made it sound, because it is one of the things that most of the stuff I share with you guys should be so simple. And the second you hit a roadblock or something that stops you, or you can't figure out why, you know, what to do next, you might be making it more difficult than it really is. So there's by the way, there's a couple times where we're going to ask you to open up your mic, and if you can share. So I'm going to give you a heads up on what that is. One of them will be thinking about, if you really do some lead generation time and you run off of a list that you lead generate from, like, where do you get that from? Whether it's, you know, you regimentally do FSBOs on a day, expireds on a day. So I'm going to have that come up. And there's one other time that I want to bring you guys back in. Yeah, just the different lists that you're prospecting from. That's one of them. And the other one, if you've done any kind of door knocking in the past and you'll want to share like what has worked for you. And if you've done door knocking in the past, it didn't go like you thought, and it's something that you would like to keep on your list. And I'll want you to unmute yourself as well. All right. Got that. So I want to open that up and just say, is there anyone that has any questions at all? Clarification, maybe even just somebody say, hey, we can hear you. You're live and we can see you.
We can see and hear you, Brad. Thank you.
All right. All right. Last chance. Anybody got any questions, clarifications? Okay, we're going to start then. I'm going to give my buyer partner this phone number, and then we're going to roll.
I do have a quick question, actually, because this came up in our last meeting and it was answered, but I want to get your opinion too.
Sure.
So if you're, like in my town, we have a very strong Keller Williams presence. So if I was going up against another Keller Williams agent, or really any agent who just has a very, very strong presence, how would I sell myself? You know, how would I compare? I mean, obviously they can sell the house, I can sell the house. Yep. They have more experience, I have less experience. So how do I sell myself when the cards are already stacked against me?
So there is a session that we had, and this is not really to throw you under the bus or say you've done anything wrong, but do you remember you were in the value proposition session, right? Mm-hmm. Did you go through the material before? Did you go through the material after, and have you watched it again?
I did not watch it again.
Okay, so the reason why I say that is because in there we talked about what are your 3 things that make you awesome. It doesn't matter if they're at KW. It doesn't matter if they're experienced. If I'm not experienced, my value proposition could be, listen, when you talk to some of the bigger agents that have been around for a while, and I don't know that I hit so much on that, but when you talk to an agent that has a team, and you're talking to me, understand that you get me, you get the source. So a lot of times you can feel like you get handed off. You don't say anything about them. You're just saying there are some situations where I've seen big monster teams and people don't like being just handed off to somebody else. How many of you right now are just like, holy crap, that would work. That might work against Brad Korn, right?
Yeah,
so,
that would probably work for me.
Right. And remember what I said was, can your competition say the same thing? And if it's a big team and they're checked out and they're leveraged, they can't say that they'll be the one that's involved because it's not in the regular day. Second thing on that, you can go one step further. And when I actually say this in the appointment, or when I'm talking to a client, I say, now, not saying that your competition can't say that, but if they could just say, well, yeah, I'll take this one. And I say, and if they tell you they can do what my value proposition was, I just said, and if another agent said they could do that, if they don't do it every single day and it's not part of their process, it's not going to run smoothly. Yeah. That's just a nut, right? Yeah. So that actually came from that script got tweaked into that because I was at family reunion and one of our owners in our very own Keller Williams office that I'm partners with is at a listing appointment competing against me. I pretty much had the listing, but they went ahead and just interviewed one more. They didn't even realize they're interviewing the same guy from the same office. And it's my business partner that we opened the office with, right? And one of the things they said, and I said this, it's like these brochures that we put on your at your house. And again, I don't have one sitting around here. Got a new listing going on, but it's got the slide bar with the plastic cover, and it's just got a nice flyer of the house, and you can create all that stuff in Command too, but a bulleted list about the house. But inside are their utilities, and then the top 10 things they like about their house, the top 10 things they like about the neighborhood. There's another sheet that I have them fill out that's updates and upgrades they've done inside the house and outside the house. And then I just put a Google map in there and the MLS sheet, right? I don't put the seller's disclosure in a brochure for a buyer. Sometimes you walk into a house and that's the packet laying on the counter. That's not a marketing piece. Okay, that's what you give to the agent to give to their buyer to hand over and say, here's the information about the house if they like it. So we'll have that on a separate stack. This is for the buyer to take home and it sits in their house for a couple of days. So I talk about that, right? I get you more shelf life than the next house. They could go to probably 5 houses. 3 of them will have nothing for them to pick up. 1 maybe will have a single page flyer about the house, either out in the box or on the counter. Does this all sound familiar, guys? Could you have this conversation?
Yeah, I remember. This was last Wednesday that we talked about this. And I wrote down all of the things that are good about me. And
yep. Well, so, and I said, and they asked him, because I said, if you're talking to another agent, that's fine. Just ask them if they do something like this. And if they tell you they can do that, but they don't do it and they can't show it to you, they probably don't do it regularly. And they got him on the brochure. So I kept the listing because they called me and go, hey, we just had, this guy over. And I was like, yeah, I mean, he just doesn't do the stuff that you really liked about it was the brochure and the other stuff. He doesn't do that on a regular basis, but he sat right there and said, oh yeah, I can do that too. And that's where that came from. So anyway, it wasn't an adversarial thing, right? He probably wasn't even in that mode. He's just not thinking, not thinking, you're just trying to get the next listing. So that was a great question. So what's one thing you think you can use now? Anything come to mind?
That I could use now if I'm trying to sell myself?
Yep. The next time that comes up.
I have to get into Command and get all that fancy stuff. That's one thing.
No, but if you have another listing appointment today and you find out you're up against another big agent, what's one thing you can say that they probably can't say about you?
That they get me. If they work with me, I will make them happy.
I'll give you that one. Because it's a true one and it's good. All right. Okay, guys, anybody else before we jump in? So just so you know, I got a hard stop today at 11:30, but here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to open up the chat and I'm going to put my email in there and my cell phone number so that you guys can call me, email me, anything that you might have a question about. There we go. There's that. And my cell phone is 816-215-3214. I've got things running back to back till about 1 o'clock today. That's Central Time, 2 o'clock your time, but you can call me anytime after that, or just text me or email me. All right, so we got a lot of information to cover, especially with a hard stop today. Let me get this presentation on. There we go. Do that again. Share my screen. There it is. All right, you guys got it. So we're on elements number 1 today. Okay, here we go. So today we're we're still focusing on lead generating for buyers and sellers. What I like to do is just make sure I've covered all my notes. So prospecting is the path, or prospecting path is the map to lead generation success. So if you go back to lead generation, we covered that in Spark number 2. So in Spark was the grow part. Today is the run your business part, right? The actual things that you need to do to now apply Spark 2, which was the second video. I just sent you guys an email this morning that has a link directly to the past classes, a link directly to the handout. So we'll refer to the handout a little bit today as well. But one of the things that I wanted to make sure I pointed out today is that prospecting is proactive. It's proactive. Marketing, you got a prospecting based business and a marketing enhanced business. The marketing is indirect. We trick ourselves into believing that marketing is lead generation, and we throw something out. That's the message, the headline, the call to action, and you throw a postcard out to a neighborhood, and you might say to yourself, I'm lead generating today. I'm going to tell you, when I did that, and I really was truthful with myself, I realized I was not lead generating. I was waiting for lead receiving, because I wasn't doing anything behind the mailing or behind the drop off. I wasn't being on purpose or proactive to follow up behind just mailing to a postcard. What I was hoping is that the headline would grab their attention. The call to action would have been good enough that they would pick up the phone and call me. You guys get that? So there is lead generating and there's lead receiving. And we're going to talk about some real, I'm going to give you a whole different perspective on generating business, like where to go find it. And that's just bringing my personal experience. So, if I'm saying proactive and on purpose, what does your database look like right now? How many people are in your database? We are on about week number 8, a couple of months we've spent together, a month and a half, right? Just towards the end of June, actually. So we're pretty darn close to 2 months we've been together. How much has your database grown? I'm going to challenge you guys on this and never let the 5 a day go. If your database grew by 200, call me, because we're going to figure out a little celebration dance or something. If it hasn't grown by 200, you just probably haven't done 5 a day, 5 days a week for the last 2 months. So chances are, we started right from the beginning, and I talked about that, but you hadn't heard it enough yet. So it's not showing up in your world yet. In fact, if it's not showing up in your world yet today, that is the easiest, most energy-free way to prospect your business, because everyone is moving sometime, right? Everyone is moving. So prospecting and adding relationships to your database is not going to get you the next deal right now. We'll talk about that today, but it is building a pipeline that will come back to you so you won't have to do the grindstone lead generating, right? And then you find leads to bring into your database. I'm going to say it one more time. Every single person you meet from this day forward that you connect with, that you have a two-way conversation with, doesn't even have to be about real estate. If you will get them in your database, drop a non-branded blank inside note card, go to notecardcafe.com, notecardcafe.com, right? Let's see where my chat went. Here we go. Notecardcafe.com. And I'm typing it because I hear commercials all the time. And half the time you guys listen to stuff and you can't even understand what the website was that they said. And it's like, that sounded like a really cool website. They said it 5 times, but they said it so fast, I don't even know what they said. So it's just like notecardcafe.com. That's where you can get 75 high quality, glossy doors, door knockers, real estate theme, blank inside with envelopes for $16.99. That is going to cover you for almost a month if you do 5 a day every day. Buy 4 packages and you're set for the next 2 months, right? So just doing that is going to really change the whole way you look at prospecting. My prospecting is making sure I add somebody new to my database. And I've been doing this for over 20 years. And I bet you I don't even have 50% of the people who know who I am, who I know who they are, and they're not in my database yet and haven't gotten a handwritten note. Probably because I only need to connect with 5 a day. So it's not like I have to connect with every single person that I have a 2-way conversation with, just the ones that you really connect with that you can write that note without the I, me, or my in it. So again, I hope I don't want you to interpret that as, okay, here we go again, the 5 a day. Guys, it is the easiest and simplest. They always say easy, it's more simple. No, it's the easiest, simplest way to build your database. And when you make those connections, all I can tell you for sure is they're moving. They're going to move in the next 10 years on average. So somebody might be 15 years, somebody might be 3 years, somebody might be tomorrow. So everybody you add. So today we're talking about connecting the prospecting to lead generation, right? So we're going to talk about prospecting methods. We're going to talk about how you take action on that plan and how you create your success list. So do this for me. When we get to this, when we talk about your success list, I'm going to remind you, send it to me. Actually sit down after this session, write down how you're going to prospect and send me the list. Send me the list. It's free to share it. Remember, we talked about accountability, or that might have been on something else. No, we talked about accountability. Put it out there. Your team leader wants to see you successful. Your OP, your productivity coach, all those people want to see it. So send all of us your success list and say, this is my prospecting list that I got from the Ignite class today, right? Send it to them. That's awesome, because then they see that you want to make this work and you're putting it into action. All right, guys. So today we're kind of coming back to what we talked about in Spark 2, which was capturing those leads. And I like to think of capture, cultivate, convert, and close. Those are like my favorite words, right? Because if you capture something, are you actually cultivating it to work towards the close so that you're going to actually get closed business? So everything I hear and do runs through this filter. And when people talk about like client appreciation parties, right? So they got their database, they send out invites. Let's just say they get 2,000 people to come to their party, right? Did they capture any referrals? So I'll hear all the time big numbers, and I've coached big teams on this. 72 referrals from our client appreciation party. Okay, so that's the capture, right? So what happened next with those 72 people? Because what I haven't seen and haven't found, and nobody can answer the question, is who were the 72 people and what have you done with them since you got the name, since you got the referral, right? How many of them have cultivated into closed business? You converted them and you closed business. Somebody, you guys, either in the chat or just unmute yourself right now and tell me how many of those 72 referrals should we get over the next 10 to 20 years? Could we get 72, right? 72. If you got 72 referrals and you put them in you capture and get them in your database and you cultivate them, you have the opportunity to get 72 extra deals. That's from one client appreciation party. Now, I'm just saying, if those 72 are in there and they're actually on a cultivation plan and you're calling them and saying, oh, the Smiths came to our appreciation party and they mentioned your name and I just want to call and introduce myself. Man, I love the Smiths. They love their house, blah, 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 whatever. And then you're writing the note. It was so great connecting. Glad you answered the phone. It's always great to meet the Smiths friends and look forward to keeping in touch. I know. See, I talk fast, guys. How many of you just like, It's just habit because I write notes every single day, every single day. Okay, we got a hand raised here. Let me see if I can figure out how to unmute that. I don't have the whole group in front of me here.
No, I can unmute myself. I was just.
There you go. Perfect. Yeah, go ahead.
Cool.
I like the hand raise. It showed right on my screen.
So I just had a question. So if I've always wanted to send my letters, like I do my 5 a day, but it's not as easy to do with new contacts because I find myself in a situation where I'm just like, do I really want to ask this guy for his address? Like, I mean, so what would you do there?
Yep. Yeah. Is it Havon?
Javen.
David?
Javen.
Javen. I got it. Javen. So Javen, here's the thing for everybody to hear is that you're in this world of real estate that you've been brought up in and stuck in called find the next deal, lead generate, lead prospect, knock on doors, call strangers, called for sale by owners and expireds. Now you're bringing in this world that sounds really exciting about connecting and writing a note and all that other stuff. The biggest struggle people have is, especially if you're new or you're really trying to grow your business and bring in new business, is you're still stuck in the have to get the next deal. Like your brain just can't break free of that to know that this 98 to 99% of the time is nothing. It's not going to be a listing appointment, not going to be anything. So if you can just trick your brain into forgetting about real estate, and I'm going to show you something today where that will help you in your calls and your scripts. But if you can just move over to, why don't I find out how I can be a resource to them and have a reason to stay in touch with them for 7 to 8, 9 more times that they will be wanting to take my call and be of value. So when you do that, 99% of them are not moving. Your real estate experience is not your value. Your connection, your communication skills, your connecting as a human being are your value right now, right? And it's just to get to know them a little bit or cross over that limbic part of the brain that is that defense mechanism. When FSBOs, you call and you have to figure out a way to trick them into staying on the phone, you're not getting past the limbic part of the brain. They already know you're a realtor. They don't like realtors. That's why they're selling themselves. And that's why most of them don't list right away. So if you come in from an angle of, hey, I may have some buyers, and if they like your house, I'd like to sell it. Or I've got 5 things I do in an open house the week before an open house, which we're going to talk about today, that helps me get more people through my open house. Then I'm going to share that. I'll share that list with you if you're doing any open houses, right? So, and that crosses over because it's, I mean, I could even open that conversation up and say, Mr. FSBO, I'm a real estate agent, but don't worry. I know you're listed your house yourself. There's a reason why you did. And all I'm doing is calling to help you get your house sold. Because that's what I do is I help people sell their houses. See how I'm pulling it right back? I help my clients sell their houses. You're trying to sell your house. So I figured I just call and introduce myself. That way, if you don't get your house sold and when you start to look for the right agent to sell your house, I want you just to have my name on there so you can ask me questions along the way. And maybe we'll get your house sold before that even comes up. Now, do you think that for sale by owner is going to listen to what I have to say after this? Does that help you? So cross back over, and it's not that you don't lead generate and don't look for the next piece of business, but you got to be on purpose to do this first part first and get those 5 connections because everybody is going to move at some point. All right. So that cultivation, good question. Did I answer that okay?
Yes, sir. I'm all good.
All right, cool. So on this screen here, we're kind of looking at the purpose and intention of a top agent's business. And what I'm going to tell you about this, we're going to come back to this slide in a minute, but I want to tell you about strengthening. This is what top agents do. And many times, this is exactly what you were just talking about, Javen, that there's 3 purposes to a phone call. This is realtor over here. Okay. This is find the next deal, when you're in bold, you're giving an adrenaline shot to your business. So there's a lot of this stuff in bold. There's stuff like this in Ignite. What I'm doing is layering in this other piece that I know is so simple and so easy that if we do it if we move some of those people over here, we do it 5 people a day, then we're going to have 1,200 people who know us, like us, trust us at the end of the year. So I'm going to come back to what you just said, Javen. The difference is if it's struggling to get their address, you're probably not connecting with them at the right level that you can write that handwritten note without a business card in it, without an I, me, or my. So for those of you that are struggling with that, it's just your conversation is still too real estate related and you really didn't connect, and they're really not one of your 5 today. They still can be a lead capture, but I'm not going to put them on an 8x8 and 33 touch. Just because we met does not count as an 8x8 and 33 touch. In fact, if you put it through this filter, Javen, if I send them the note and send them 8 things in the next 8 weeks, I don't know if I probably should send them that much. I think I'm going to take out a couple things. I'm going to send them 4 things, or a 33 touch. Think about this. I'm going to send them 33 things in the next 12 months, 33 touches. If you instantly say, that's going to be spam, that's not a connection. That's not one of your 5 for the day. In fact, that's a met, but it's a not connected. So if you go way back to the very beginning, we talked about not mets, right? Now, according to the MREA book, and I don't think, do I have it sitting in front of me? No. The MREA book, you look at the circle, you got the haven't mets on the outside. What is the Keller Williams follow-up plan that we talk about for not mets? How many times in a year? They may know.
The 12 by 12.
12 by 12. So if not met is not connected, and those two are the same thing, then even though I met somebody, but I'm not connecting, they're not going on my met plan. The connected 8 times in 8 weeks and 36 times a year. If you think that's too much, you're not connected. So move them back out to the outer ring. And so you would put that person that you're having trouble writing the note to on a what? 12 touch. In fact, I challenge you all to go through your entire database right now and put everybody on a 12 touch. Why? Because 12 touch converts 50 to 1. That's 2% conversion rate, right? You might as well have them on the 12, every single person in your database on a 12 touch and capture 2% until you go from A to Z and convert them over to a connected and put them on the 8x8 where you're going to get a 12 to 2 touch. Boom. That was a lot of math. Did you guys follow me? I mean, it's a Friday morning. Yeah, go ahead. You have more to add or ask?
Yeah, no, I completely understand, the whole process with the putting them on the 12 by 12, but isn't the 12 by 12 like mailers?
It can be anything. It could be emails, it could be mailers, it could be anything. Okay. The more mixed the medium is, the more effective it will be. But like for an internet lead, you only got an email, then you can only email. So you're going to have a 12 touch all email, right? Got it. If they're an older couple and they have no email, and you can get their address, then the only thing is the all mail. In fact, that you bring up a good point. I haven't talked about this yet, but I have 3 duplicate plans on every plan, every follow-up plan I create, whether it's the 12 touch, the 8x8, 36 touch. There's a mail and email. That's ideal, because then I've got their phone number, I've got their address, there's calls layered in there, and there's some emails that go out too. So I got a little bit of both. So the more mediums I have, the more I can spread it out and the less it'll look like spam, right? That's on a 12 touch. But on an 8x8 and 33 touch, I don't care because I'm connected, but I definitely don't want to send them all emails. But then I've got the I've just duplicated it and it's all email. And then I duplicate it again and it's all mail, because I might have one or the other and I want them on something until I can get them converted, or I do get people that don't have email, right? So that I have 3 plans for everything. They're exact identical duplicates, and some of them are mail and email. That's the goal, is to get everybody switched over to that. Does that help?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
In fact, let's clarify this a little further. Guys, quit thinking about your call like, are you thinking about buying or selling? Because that 99.9% of the time, I should say 99% of the time, if you call enough people, they're going to say, no, we're pretty happy right now, or we might sometime in the future, whatever the answer is. Only 1% of a big number of people will actually say, yeah, it's weird you called today. We actually are thinking about selling. And that does not happen when you use this script. The second thing is, so 99.9% of the time they say no, we say, well, do you know anybody else that is, right? And we talked about the open questions. Well, who do you know that might be considering moving? So like, awesome, right? What's your answer 99% of the time? Can't think of anybody right now. So even though we got really smart with the opens and yeah, we're not asking yes and no's, it's going to be, I don't know anybody 99% of the time. So I shared this script. 99% of the time say, I appreciate you thinking, but I caught you off guard. I didn't expect you to know somebody right off the top of your head. Do you mind giving me some help this week? Right? And they're going to say 100% of the time, if you're like actually in a two-way conversation, don't have to be completely connected, but human beings are just going to say, well, yeah, what do you need? It's like, just keep your eyes and ears open. If anybody says the word real estate this weekend or through the week, will you just think of me? Now think about that branding. Will you just think of me and jot down their name and maybe text it to me or something? Well, and they'll say, just out of courtesy, they'll say, oh yeah, I'll do that, right? So I immediately, when they said that, because they said yes, they have a sense of obligation to us, and that's just another human thing. So I drop them a note in the mail instantly that says, thanks so much for agreeing to help this week, looking for people talking about real estate. I'll give you a call in a couple of days, see if you've bumped into anybody this week, because I know it's going to take 3 days mail time for them to get the note. And then they've got a couple more days and their phone's going to ring. It's scheduled. If I'm going to use that script, I'm going to follow up with this follow-up plan. Now, about 25% of the time now, you will get some kind of warm, my neighbor's been cleaning his yard, or my sister is getting married this summer. You'll get those kind of things most of the time, right? But what happens is they forget about that call instantly and go back to life. And then the note card shows up and reminds them, thank you so much for agreeing to help. They agreed to help you. Now they're going to be on purpose for the next couple of days, because it said right there you were going to call them in a couple of days. So if that's on a Friday, I'm going to say I'm going to call you on Friday and see if you bumped into anybody this week. So it just gets them back on purpose. So this is the thing to do. Move. We don't even, on this one, we just skip the strengthen your relationship. Okay, well, if you think of somebody, let me know, right? And we stop right there and we move on to the next call, because we're ripping through looking for the next deal. Guys, if you call to strengthen your relationship first, knowing that you got to get into relationship with them and connect and send them the handwritten note and do all that stuff, if you do that first, the other two questions you almost never need to ask, because if they are thinking about selling or they know somebody that is, it's going to come up while you guys are just talking about family, occupation, recreation. So see, this is what I'm talking about, where you have to get your brain out of this world into this world. And this would work on even this world, because if you can get them into conversation around what's their goals in their life. Like, so are you guys doing okay during COVID? I mean, again, I'm not calling a total stranger and jumping into their life. I've got to get over that to where they don't hang up on me right away, because that's two different worlds. That's lead generation on purpose, call them FSBOs and expireds, versus lead cultivating, driving your business. I lost my train of thought there for a second. So guys, think about this. Strengthen your relationship first. Make sure there was nothing. Oh yeah. So here's what I wanted to talk about on this. So when you're doing marketing and when you're marketing to people, you want to look at that message and what's that message to them for their market, and what is the call to action. So now understand that we've got the connection side here. Even though you connect, if you're going to drip on them, what's their message? What's their offer? What's that other stuff? So even when I connect with people that are now on my 8x8 and 33 touch, if I'm matching my market, well, my market is people I know and fun stuff. We live in the community together. We have a relationship, right? Because 98% of them are not moving in the next month, right? And month to 2 months. If they're in their house every 10 years, that's 10 people for every 100 might be moving this year. And that's only one person in the next month, month and a half that's moving in the next month, month and a half. It's 10 people in a year. 120 people 12 people are moving, one of them every month. And you got to stay in touch with all 120 to get that one every month. So that message or that market is just community stuff, what's going on in their neighborhood. Now you layer in some real estate stuff every once in a while, right? But when you're doing make an offer, that real estate stuff that might be 2 touches out of the 8x8 are things like on mine, it is, hey, wanted to let you know how we help people in the real estate world. We helped a new buyer go to closing and get a check back at closing. It was their first home and they scraped up the money to close and they got a check back at closing, right? Where would that happen? VA buyer, right? They get their earnest money back, 0 down. Or we helped a for sale by owner sell his house. He was trying to sell himself. We gave him our 5 tips on how to have a successful open house, and we helped them sell their house. However that was, if they sold their house, didn't sell their house, we ended up listing it and selling it, whatever it might be. I'm not in that so much. The trigger or the message is, if you see anybody in your neighborhood selling their house themselves, you're going to say, you need to call Brad Korn. And that just happened last week at my network group. I mean, the guy at the automotive place, I mentioned this last week, he was like, man, I'm trying to get you this referral. This guy thinks he's going to sell his house himself to one of those rehabbers. He's going to lose money. I'm begging him to freaking call you before he does anything. It's like, yeah, I mean, he really does. I'll at least give him all the options. And if that's still an option, I'll be honest with him. I'll tell him. He's like, I know. Finally, the guy called because Tim's just been beating the crud out of him. I mean, can you imagine having a sales force out there in the community like that? That's going to help them with people that you're connected with, that they know you sell. I've actually gotten a listing from a for sale by owner that I called. They did not list with me. They did sell the house, but they still referred me 3 pieces of business that they never used me. And they were like, oh, this guy's got a marketing plan that's killer. They didn't even use me. They sold the house themselves. And I got 3 referrals from them. So that message, you got to pay attention to that. So your target audience is your 5 a day connections, right? I mean, a lot of this has to do right back over in this world. It's the FSBOs, the expireds, that kind of stuff. So a target audience, if your target audience is expireds, right? You could actually do a 1-line printout of the homes like theirs within a 5 or 10 mile radius that's just went under contract and sold in the last 6 months. Think about this for a minute. If I've got an expired in my database, so I'm not really connected yet, or even if I am connected, there's still an expired listing. So they are still thinking about, there's going to be a plan that's got a little more real estate in it, right? But if I just pulled up a 1-line printout, so they're in a 3-bedroom, 2-bath townhome, right? So if I just pulled up 3-bedroom townhomes in the MLS area over the last 6 months and just do a 1-line printout of what's for sale, what's pending, what's sold, and just put a note on it, print it out, 1 page. I don't know if I have any sitting around here right now, but 1 page where you just write a note on it and go, hey, here's the activity that's happened in the last 6 months. These were pretty similar to your home. Just wanted to keep you updated on the market, right? I'm educating them on the market. I always say, you know, as a homeowner, I'm going to send you stuff that helps you be an educated homeowner. And then I say, would you, as a homeowner, would it be good to know what things are selling for in your neighborhood? What are they going to say? If I asked you guys all that question, hey, if you own your home, wouldn't it be good just to know what your neighbors are selling for and keep an eye on that? It's a dumb yes question. It's that they're always going to say yes. When would they ever say no? That is the permission to send them that list. Because now I just put that in their head. I send them the list. They're like, oh, here's the houses they're selling in the neighborhood. That's good to know because I'm a homeowner and Brad Korn is keeping me educated. He is my go-to guy if I have any questions. So you guys see how that works? I mean, rather than just sending out something that goes, hey, want to know how much your neighbor's house sold for? Call me. That's not prospecting. That's lead receiving. And you're waiting for them to pick up the phone and call you back. So if you can do that and then you call and then you said, hey, want to know what your neighbor's house sold for? Right? Then they might say, yeah, I was curious. Now I've got them on the phone and I can actually have the conversation. They're probably not going to pick up the phone and call me from that. Is this helping? Give me some major thumbs up if you guys are making some good connections between what you've been doing and how you can do it a little more efficiently. Yes? All right. I'm seeing a couple thumbs up. Some people don't have hands or they're typing. That's okay too. Let's see. Yeah, the last thing I wanted to say about all of this message and how you're getting them the stuff is that don't forget you do sell real estate. It's so hard to make sure people understand that how easy and simple this relationship side is, and just being fluffy and sending them chicken soup from the soul stories and things like that. That makes you a human. Or share, you know, they're going to see you on Facebook. They're going to see you with your family. I'm careful about what I put on Facebook. I put stuff that's funny, awesome. I don't put every meal that I eat on Facebook. I definitely don't put anything that could be controversial. Doesn't mean that I'm not sharing it with somebody, but I'm probably sharing that with my politician neighbor. I'll share that stuff with them directly, but I'm not posting it on Facebook. I'm keeping it like plugged into the community or fun stuff, things that people will think is funny, and just keeping my name in front of them. But remember, you do sell real estate, so you got to have real estate in there somewhere, sometime. All right, on this, we're talking about just that difference between marketing and prospecting. You know, you want to be prospecting based and marketing enhanced. So the prospecting based, let me give it to you as simple as I can give it to you guys right now. That is, prospecting based is starting in your database and reconnect with everyone. That is the easiest, simplest. It's not easy to go through your database and actually not lose track. So I'm going to have to say it's the simplest way to pack your pipeline so you won't have to prospect and knock on doors and call FSBOs forever. Now, I am going to say, though, as we're going through this class, this is a reminder for anybody who's been in business for a while, that FSBOs and expireds, open houses directly built my business. Absolutely built my business. Door knocking, absolutely built my business. Doesn't mean that I even though I don't do those all the time. In fact, I can talk a seller out of wanting to do an open house real easy if I want to, right? And again, because my competition could say, we'll do an open house every single weekend, I may say, hey, I can do an open house every single weekend, but let me tell you how that's going to not be a benefit to you, right? And so not that I'm talking them out of an open house, but I'm just saying if they really want one, they'll tell me they still want one. And what I say is, 98% of the houses that sell come from another agent. Less than 1 or 2% of the time do I sell my own listing to my own buyer. There's 10,000 agents in my community, so I market to all 10,000 of them to find all the buyers to get you the most money. That is a huge value proposition. However, again, an agent, your competition could say, well, we put it in MLS too, so we get it in front of everybody as well, right? Now, do you see where my script came back in about, let me tell you, MLS does not sell properties. All it does is throw it in a stack of other properties, and you got to sift through it to find your home. So there's things that we do to get you pulled out of that stack on MLS, and a lot of other things we do for exposure. That's my value proposition that my competition wouldn't even know how to answer. Well, if you guys said, what do you mean by that? Right? So that, call me, question me. It's just my listing presentation. It's just a value proposition. And I use the 350 websites that we get it on KW versus 100 that might come directly from MLS and so forth. So just remember on your marketing stuff, your database is, when you're reconnecting, that's prospecting, because every single one of them are moving in the next 10 years, according to what you guys told me, right? Marketing enhanced. So the marketing side is just to move you top of mind after you prospect. And then the 30, that's the 8x8. And then the 36 touch keeps you there. It keeps you there, top of mind. I got a lot of notes on this page. So in prospecting, it's proactive and direct. Proactive and direct. So you want to keep active versus a reactive state. So if you do 5 a day, every day for the next 6 months, you're going to have 600 people that you've written notes to. So here's what when I coach people, and this is how you'll know how well you're doing on your 5 a day. I say, how many, write down the total in your database at the beginning of each day. At the end of the day, you should have at least 5 more in there, right? And then how many notes did you write? Because a lot of times I'll look at a week at a glance and go, okay, so we should have had 25 people this week. You had 10. Yeah, I didn't do so good on my 5 a day, right? Okay, so you got 10, that's good. How many notes did you write? That's my next question. How many handwritten notes did you write without I, me, or my in it? No business card. And the answer is usually 2 or 3. And without judgment, I'm just asking, so why wasn't it 10? I mean, why was it only 2 or 3? Well, because I mean, 7 of them, really, I don't know. They were kind of short. They were busy. They were going to call me back. That's not a connection. So that's how you can verify. If you put in 10 and you wrote 10 notes and they were the notes we're talking about, you've got your connections, right? And you would go for 25 of those a week to have 1,200 in a year. Guys, 1,200 in 12 months is 5 a day. 5 a day, and you will have an opportunity if they're moving every 10 years for 120 transactions in the following 12 months. You're probably going to pick up 25 or 30 of them in the first 12 months because you're ramping it up, right? So you got 25 or 100 this month, 100 next month, 100 next month. So in 6 months, you got 600 people in the database. So 60 of them are moving in the next 12 months, but only like 6 of them are, less than 6 of them are now, but you just started the last 100 on the 8x8 this last month. So you're not going to capture all of those 6 every single month. So that's just, the numbers just build up, and then pretty soon the pipeline's full, and then it will kick through all 120 opportunities. Any questions on anything there? I know we talked about that one a lot, but like your customer creation activities is like your expireds and your FISBOs. I say that's not really lead generating unless you're getting in front of them, knocking on the door, meeting them, having two-way conversations, and you can write a note. If you can write the note, then you've moved them over that. Let me see here. Okay, so this is where I wanted to have somebody unmute. What is there any kind of prospecting things that you're doing that seem to be working really, really well? And I'll add, oh, go ahead. If somebody's unmuted, you can go ahead and go and share if you're doing something that's really working. Okay. So what I'm hearing or not hearing is raise your hand. I've kind of got everybody up if your video's on. If you haven't really found anything that really works as well as you thought it would. Okay, so you guys, you're somewhere in the middle, or you guys can't hear me, one of the two.
I can hear you.
Okay, we might have, I don't know if we have somebody unmuted. It seems like there's something coming in through the background. Let me give you an example of being on purpose prospecting. And it's very on purpose. So I like to take the path that will convert the best result possible. So when a new listing hits the market, you could do this every single morning. I did this every single morning in my early years in real estate. I would pull up the new listings in the neighborhoods that I like to work in or the price range that I was focused on. So it's not just all new listings, but I wanted to get in the $300,000 range. So I would pull up the 270 to 325 new listings in this MLS area. And I would pull up the tax record or see where their address is. You can then pull up the houses, the 10 houses across the street and the 5 on each side. If you've heard this before, okay, but now let's like really do something with it, because I heard that before and I actually did something with it. I just called those 10 houses, 20 houses, and I just said, hey, did you see your neighbor came on the market today? Now I'm calling out of the blue. This is a total on purpose prospecting. Said, hey, this is Brad Korn, real estate agent. I sell a lot of houses in the neighborhood. Or you could say we sell a lot of houses in the neighborhood if your office is in there, right? We sell houses in your neighborhood. And I just thought I'd call today, see if you were wondering how much your neighbor went on the market for. So this is the day it went live. They're like, what? Who went on the market? Your neighbor's over at blah, blah, blah. And if tax record, I have that printed off so I know their names and whatever, and the MLS sheet. And it's like, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, oh yeah, how much are they asking? 300,000. What? They're not going to get 300,000 for that house. Well, I just wanted you to know, I figured as a homeowner, you would like to know what's going on in your neighborhood, know what values are doing. And that's what I do in real estate. I help people become experts in their own neighborhood and know where their values are. So I sell houses in there. I keep sellers educated on what's going on in the market. Now I'm establishing myself as the authority on real estate. So that's one way to do it. You could pull up sold. So if you're trying to target a certain area, if you're not neighborhood knocking, or you're going to do an open house, for example, we're about to talk about open houses a little bit. And do you guys do open houses? Is that really a thing?
Yes.
I heard a yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So we will talk about open houses. So if I'm doing an open house and I want to be on purpose for prospecting, here's the thing. People move up 50% in value. This is just a statistic from NAR, that the average buyer will buy within 5 miles of where they currently live, and they'll move up 50% in value. Write that down. They move within 5 miles and they move up 50% in value. So if they're in a $300,000 house property, they will move up to a 450. Vice versa, if I'm holding an open house in a 450 house, then who is most likely my next buyer for that? Most likely somebody in a $300,000 property within 5 miles of the open house. And if we know the average person's moving every 5 to 10 years, so now if you go to the neighborhoods that sold for 300,000 or 250 5 years ago, or maybe 200 10 years ago, and I pull up MLS search for solds in a 5 mile radius, 200,000 to 300,000 solds, and I pull those up, and from 10 years ago, so from January 1st of 2010 to December 31st of 2010, for example, that'd be 10 years ago. I would probably pull up the 5-year range. But 5 to 10 years ago, I'll pull up a list of solds in 5 miles that are in the price range that would probably be buying my 450 house. Guys, this is like on purpose. This is like, I'm just not going to call strangers all day long. So I got that is a list that's going to last me for the week to work on before my open house. I do this the week before. And I start just finding fastpeoplesearch.com, find as many phone numbers as I can, right? I verify, I look at the history to see if they've sold since 2010. If they have, I just cross it off the list. But I'm going to end up with about 20 personal invites of the people that are most likely about to move. They've been in their house for 5 to 10 years. They're within 5 miles, and I got a 450 open house coming in. You're going to at least get half of them to show up, or 25% of them to show up and come through the open house, whether they're buying or not. How many of you love that idea? See, this is what I did in school. I don't know if I could call it cheating because I don't really remember, but I was sure looking at whoever was doing it fastest and I was following them. Might have been cheating. My eyes might have went over on their paper during a test once in a while, but I'm taking the shortcut possible, right? This isn't cheating. It's just working smart. You guys like that? All right, so if you've got your guide out and you turn to page 4, it shows all the different types of prospecting methods. Where did my mouse go? Come on back over here. There we go. These are just some of the different ways. Phone, face-to-face. You got listings without agency, FSBOs and expired. You got circle prospecting, neighborhoods, apartments. So if you want to be the condo king, start showing up around the condo as much as possible if you have a way to get in, right? And if you can't get in, don't worry about it. That's not your condo to market to. And that's the other thing. A lot of people will be like, oh, I'm going to circle prospect this neighborhood because I want to own it one day. Great. There's like 10 sales in there a year, and it's a gated community. Come on, everybody likes that neighborhood, but you can't market to it. Instead, find the 1,000 property neighborhood that moves 500 homes, or I guess 1,000 would be 100 homes a year, right? Because they're moving every 10 years, and go for those 100. That's going to do a lot more for your business, right? Now, you can still target your price range down, but don't pick these. Everybody always picks a neighborhood that doesn't even have any turnover. That's just not going to get, that's smart on purpose, right? You can own that and you can take it over, but it's not going to get you the next deal right away if there's only 10 sales a year and you're not getting 100% of the sales. So, I mean, this is just all the different types of prospecting that you have. So look at the one on this screen, number 4, key relationships, and you go down to number 2, builders. Do you guys have any new construction going on or builders that you could target? Yes, give me a thumbs up if that's in your area. Is there new construction? Not a whole lot of new construction. Okay, cool. Well, then I won't spend a lot of time on this, but what I did was I sent out letters to the builders at parade time, parade of homes. I said, congratulations on the parade. And then another one went out, said, congratulations on your award. And then a month later, I would send something out. Does it seem like traffic has stopped since the parade of homes? Well, of course it has. There's no parade going on. And it's like, I can show you the 5 or 10 things that why your traffic slowed down. And if you're interested in keeping your traffic at parade levels, give me a call. I had 5 builders in my area. That went out to probably about 50 builders. I had 5 builders call me, the agent, and say, hey, I want to get with you and talk about those 5 things, because my message was direct to what their situation was. So think about that when you're looking at these different things. All right, so as we move through here and we go to deep diving on prospecting methods, got about 4 minutes just to go through some different methods. And again, remember, this is not mastery time. We got 1 hour to get you the information, to get you to think and to come back and look at this stuff and to read into it. And then call me if you have questions about, hey, how do I capitalize on this audience? And I'll be more than happy to help you. But like on this one, we've got agent to agent referrals. So many times you guys you've already said it in this session that there are people that are an hour away, and driving around in your marketplace is horrific. So market to the people that are outside. My license is in Kansas right now. My license, I've got a Missouri license, but it's in Kansas at our Kansas office. And I'm marketing to the Kansas agents in my office to get all their Missouri business, because they don't want to come across the border. I mean, we're the cheap houses over here, right? This is the other side of the tracks. So I've got my own office sending me referrals. You guys could do the same exact thing. The other thing is, if you are going to do an open house, create the ultimate open house, masterful, capture everyone, get the most people through plan. Don't decide to do an open house on Saturday and do an open house on Sunday and throw the signs up real quick. I mean, you'll still get people through, but if you're going to take time out of your schedule to be there for an hour or 4 hours, make it count and get the absolute most people possible in there. Let's see what else there is here. So then this just kind of goes through all the different types of things like door knocking. You know, I don't know if you guys are door knocking or not, but if you door knock and they answer, remember 98% of them aren't selling, right? And if you want to get past the limbic part of their brain, a great question is, hey, I'm just working through the neighborhood. I love this neighborhood, sell real estate and sell houses in here, and just helping homeowners, be up to date on what's going on. But really today, I just wanted to stop by and introduce myself and ask you what it is you love about this neighborhood and what you love about this home. I bring buyers in here all the time, and I like to share with them what the homeowners like. Now, realistically, guys, what's going to happen once in a while, they're going to be like, oh, I'm trying to get the heck out of here, or my neighbor's a pain in the butt. You'll hear that stuff. Who is that? That person just moved on to my possible seller list, and they're going to start getting a message towards, too much to fix around the house and just like normal stuff, but moving them towards listing their property faster. So do you guys do any door knocking? I mean, this is a part where I wanted you to unmute if you do any kind of door knocking, or you'd like to, but you don't want to, and just say something if you do. And if that's not even something in your area, that's fine too. I would think door knocking. Yeah.
Questions in regards to door knocking and open houses.
Yep.
So door knocking, I door knock around open houses, 5 to the left, 5 to the right, and 10 in front.
Yep.
But door knocking in regards to just random door knocking, do you strategically plan out, like, I'm going to go door knock like 10 expired or 10 FSBOs or whatever, instead of just haphazardly door knocking and meeting people?
Yep. Well, I don't do anything too haphazardly. Have you figured that out yet?
Yeah.
I'm going to be very targeted on it. In fact, probably the door knocking, if I want to get some neighbors in there, so let's just say I would do that if I knew the neighborhood was turning over a lot, because I'm watching the neighborhood, I'm pulling up souls, I'm seeing what's happening. If the neighborhood's having a turnover, I'm probably going to knock on the door and invite them over. If it's a street that nobody ever moves, I may not door knock. So it's not really just willy-nilly, it's on purpose stuff. Here's what I did do that was super successful, and it just made an impression. Like in art, if it's a neighborhood with streets in it, you know, and I'm just kind of envisioning, I know you guys probably have neighborhoods, but you also have lots of big buildings and condos and everything's crammed together too, right? Townhouse rows, all that stuff. So if I was putting up a sign, do you know that I would literally go to the door and knock on the door and just say, hey, Brad Korn, real estate agent. I know this may seem weird, but I'm holding an open house here next week. I put my signs out a week in advance. Even if they disappear, I don't care. It's just extra exposure. And I buy like 100 signs at a time because I'm going to lose half of them in the next couple months if I'm doing a lot of open houses. But I would actually say, I just wanted to ask permission if I could just stick a sign on the corner down there, which is public property, by the way, right? But down on the corner there, just till Sunday, and I'll hold the open house and I'll be sure to pick it up when I leave. Wow, I just met this, they're going to get a note in the mail that I'm going to say, thank you so much for allowing the sign to be up there. Always great to see nice neighbors. That's why I like this neighborhood, or something like that. Now, I slipped in an eye. How many of you caught it, right? That's why this neighborhood is so awesome. Ooh, that's another better way to say it, right? So I've had one person in my entire career tell me, no, you can't put any signs on my corner. Rather than argue, I just went across the street and I put it on that corner. I didn't care, right? So hopefully that helps.
So you said open houses, you were really successful with those. What was your open house plan? I know you didn't like willy-nilly, decide on Friday and then Saturday and then Sunday have your open house and call it a day. You started earlier in the week. What does that look like for you?
Monday morning, 10 signs go up off every busy street leading to that property, no matter what. If I can't do signs, then that sucks. I'm not going to have as many people there. So then do I need to plan ahead of time more and do a mailing? Like, that's going to cost me money, but I might do a mass mailing to that immediate 1 mile area. That would just be for neighbors, but I would always pull up 5 mile radius, half, from a 450 open house, I'd pull up the $300,000 neighborhoods and I would mail them a generic postcard. And I would just write the open house time and date. If you had to, you could drive through those neighborhoods and knock on the doors. That's where I would knock on the doors, right? So it's just being on purpose about all that stuff. It was like 100 ways to have a successful open house, but I did have my specific plan, and that was the signs went up a week in advance. We did invite the neighbors next door. We always knocked on the door where the signs went. And we had our collection card where I'd write, who came through, and I'd write the handwritten notes while I was at the open house. I always had a list of 3 price ranges, the next price range down, the next price range up, and the price range we were in, because I knew that even if that was the price range they were looking, the odds that that's their dream home is 1 out of 10. The average buyer looks at 10 homes. That means they only buy 1 of the next 10 they look at. So if I'm holding an open house, I've actually got less than a 10% chance, because most of the time they don't know anything about it. They just saw the sign. They don't even know what price range it is when they're coming in. So if you think through the process of why the open house isn't working as well as you want, you can figure out how to plug those holes. And that's what I basically did. Is my open houses were always good, but I had open house where I got nobody, right? So there's not a foolproof plan whether you're going to have somebody or not, but it's looking back and going, if it didn't get the results you wanted, what didn't get the result? How do I plug that hole and add that to my list? Does that help?
Yes, I thought I was being really strategic, putting them the night before.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, anything you do is going to work, right? Anything you do is going to work. It's agent-to-agent referrals. I mean, every agent that you co-op with, do you write them a handwritten note and thank them for the co-op and it was great working with them? Even if it was rough, send them a note and go, it truly was great working with you. I know we had some bumps in the road, and it could have been them that did it. It might have been you that did it. Whoever it is, it doesn't matter. But I write them a note and go, it's always great to co-op, and I think it's a big part of our business. So I look forward to us crossing paths again in the future. Do you think that your deals might be a little easier next time you're working with that co-op agent, right? Will they be looking for your listings? So again, without getting into, too detailed on command, you've got your command training, but this was really just about how to add other agents to your referral network. I mean, I'll just show you guys my screen right here. If you're in front of your screen, there's a button when you log into command. It's the 4th or 5th icon down. You can click on referrals and add agents at Keller Williams into your network. So for you guys, I might target on the map the agents that are 1 hour away to send you business for referrals. And you can see right there, I got 36,000 invites. This is a very on purpose getting in front of KW agents when command first came out. But over here it shows I've got 12 active referrals where these agents, I've received 11 of them, and I've sent out 1 through the command network. So again, they're agents all around the country, and I'm sucking at getting referrals out, but most of the people I usually know of, if they're buying something in another market, I am working to connect them with another agent if they don't have that already. And again, open houses, we already talked a little bit about that. You actually just beat me to the punch on the things that I do. So what is your ultimate open house list? How are you going to market to it to get the most people? I want you guys to think about it, put it together and share it with me, right? And I'll help you tweak it, add to it. We'll bring it back to the class when open houses come up again and you could share. But now, what are you doing in your open houses? And then there's also social media. That's another way or this just talks about adding contacts. Okay, if you do not know how to add a contact to command, you got to figure it out. And you're going to figure it out by adding 5 a day. It's real simple. You go into command, there's a people button, you click on it and you can put in their name, their email, all that stuff. So if you're not putting in 5 people a day, it's going to be tough to get to use it. I will tell you this, if you can't even get into command because you can't figure out what your screen name is or your password, figure that out today, get logged in, put it in an email. Just put command, login, and password and send the email back to yourself. Put a link, copy the URL while you've got command open. Once you figure out your password and you get in, copy the URL, paste it in your email, paste in your screen name that you just used to get in, and paste in your password or type in your password that you just used and send it back to yourself. Then you can just go to your email and type in command log pass, and you're going to find your link to command. That's how I still do that today. I use command every single day, but I have to log into my email, which I'm already open, and just search for log pass command. I know I said I had a hard stop, but I just want to make sure I get through everything. Social media, guys, really, there's so many different ways of social media. I can tell you this, that's an ongoing, it's kind of more of your marketing enhance. I use it as an enhancement. However, if you see somebody post, we're getting married, or I'm getting divorced, or I'm moving to Kansas City, those are actual posts on Facebook and social media sites. Contact that person directly. Like there will be referral groups where they're talking about referrals and they list people's names. I'm direct messaging that agent. I'm also Googling their name and pulling up their phone number and calling them and saying, hey, I saw your post. So they've gotten a direct message from me, right? And I might even look at their friends list. If I see some of my friends in another state, I'll say, hey, will you go over to so-and-so and recommend me? I mean, be on purpose, right? To get that name out there, call them, and then you're going to get more business that way. But really, you just have to pick what you're going to put in there. It's 20% business, 80% personal. On Facebook, that is the backyard barbecue, right? Now, LinkedIn, even there, I would still do 20% business, 80% personal, but it might not be as fun stuff personal. It might be, my personal stuff might be how one of my rental properties that I'm checking on, or something that I found in a rental property, or like I just had the basement cleaned out of one of my apartment buildings. I only have one. My one apartment building had so much crap in there, mold and everything growing on. I just cleaned it out so I could show a before and an after. I'm not talking about business. I'm talking about me personally owning an apartment building. I mean, it is kind of a little cross on business, but just don't think business all the time, right? So the last thing, just kind of finishing up here, is just on your plan, figure out what are the 3 or 4 or 5 things that you really like to do that you're being on purpose about to enhance everything you're doing to actually get more people that are thinking about buying or selling, right? 80% got 90% of their business from 5 sources. And I know one of the examples, let me see where I have that. I mean, it's like referrals, sphere of influence, repeat business, purchase leads, and yard signs was that 5 connections that one of the agents had, or that most agents do have. So we know repeat business or sphere of influence, people always say, half my business comes from referrals, right? So where's the other half come from to determine where you're targeting? And I'm telling you, your database, the 5 a day, that's just a layer of this, right? You're not going to say my 5 a day do. You will be able to in a year or two. You're going to be able to say 90% of my business comes from my database, and the 10% is that I keep feeding it in. And then the last thing is, just as you go through that list of stuff, just pull it down to what your focus is going to be. And this is where I would say, that's the list I want you to send me, right? So develop your plan and stick to it, use it. You can still add other things, you can change it. And that's it for today. So again, for ahas and stuff, if you guys want to send me an email, let me know what your aha is. I will send that back in our email for next, Monday's class, and share some of those ahas with you. So appreciate you guys all today. Sorry I have to run out of here pretty quick, but I don't want to cut us short on the material as well. You guys have a great weekend. And remember, it's not the weekend, it's how do we make the end of the week strong, right? Let's do that. All right, I just heard that term today.
All right, Brad, have a good one.
Thank you guys, you too. Have a great weekend.
You.